What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review. This time we're taking a look at The Untouchables, directed by Brian De Palma, written by David Mamet, starring an all-star cast that includes Kevin Costner, Robert De Niro, Andy Garcia, Sean Connery, and Charles Martin Smith. The Untouchables tells the story of Eliot Ness forming a group of incorruptible law officials as they band together to take down Al Capone's criminal empire in 1930 Chicago during the Prohibition era. Now, not taking into account that this movie is mostly just fan fiction, as by itself, The Untouchables is one of those landmark classic crime gangster movies. I love The Untouchables. I have fond memories of this watching this movie at a young age. This was one of the first gangster movies that I can remember watching and actually loving. Now, with all that being said, is The Untouchables a perfect movie when I look back at it now, some years later? No, it's not a perfect movie, but does it still hold up as a great movie? Absolutely. Absolutely. This movie to me absolutely holds up. The cast overall in this movie is fantastic. Kevin Costner plays Eliot Ness. Kevin Costner is just really good at just embodying the everyman working class individual type of character, and he brings that to Eliot Ness. And if I'm not mistaken, this was one of Kevin Costner's more earlier roles at the beginning of his career, and this was actually his standout role. Now, when I look back at it now, I think there are moments where Kevin Costner can come across as really, really wooden, and his delivery can be kind of janky and awkward in a lot of areas. But overall, I think his performance is really, really strong, and he pretty much holds his end of the movie fairly well. Uh, Charles Martin Smith, who plays the character of Wallace, who is pretty much working with Ness to try and capture Capone for income tax evasion. I like Charles Martin Smith as an actor. He's a very overlooked and underrated character actor. I enjoyed him in this movie as Wallace. He brings a slight comedic value to the role of Wallace, though I do like the scenes between him and Ness. I think the character of Wallace could have definitely gotten more screen time. I think his character is overall really, really rushed. Just like I think this movie in general is really, really rushed in a lot of areas. But overall, I thought the character of Wallace was really good, and his death scene is actually really heartbreaking because he comes across just a very likable guy who wants to do some good. So, Charles Martin Smith as Wallace, great character. Sean Connery as Malone. What can you say about Sean Connery in this movie as Malone? He is fantastic. Connery does a fantastic job at pretty much being the mentor-like figure. If I were to make a comparison to the Untouchables, I would compare the Untouchables to a group like the Four Horsemen in a way. Kevin Costner, he's Ric Flair. Arn Anderson is gonna be Sean Connery, and Andy Garcia could be like Tully Blanchard, the hothead. And Barry Windham, which is my favorite version of the Four Horsemen, he could be Charles Martin Smith's character of Wallace. What I would, in a wrestling sense, I would equate the Untouchables in this movie to that version of the Four Horsemen. Connery is like he is basically the enforcer of the group. He's the soul of the group, the heart of the group. He's the mentor of the group, and his performance in this movie is well deserved of the Academy Award that he got. The chemistry that he has with Kevin Costner is great. Um, I mentioned that Cosner's performance in this movie could be a little bit iffy in certain areas, but when Cosner and Connery are on screen together, that's where Cosner's strengths really show because he and Connery have outstanding screen time together. The chemistry is perfect, and when Malone's character dies, you can see the sense of loss that Eliot has for this man because they bonded that quickly. So yeah, Malone in this movie, Cosner, Malone, fantastic. I mean, Connery, who played Malone, fantastic. This was one of Andy Garcia's earlier roles where Hollywood was trying to prop him up as a star. He played a character called George Stone, who was pretty much like the rookie of the group. Not bad. I thought Andy Garcia was good in this movie for the role that he was in. He held his own against the heavy hitters like Cosner and Connery. I got no complaints with that. Robert De Niro as Al Capone. I love De Niro in this movie as Al Capone. You can tell this man is just having a ball playing Al Capone. The personality, the presence, the scenes and dialogue that De Niro has is fantastic. If I have complaints with this movie, I don't think it really did a good job at building up a real legit rivalry between Ness and Capone, mainly because Cosner and De Niro, they don't really share that much screen time when you really watch this movie. They have that one scene where Wallace dies and Ness goes to confront Capone, and then they have the entire third act in the courtroom. but that's all the interaction that Costner and De Niro have. I think this movie could have at least used another 10 minutes to stretch out, just to give me maybe one or two more scenes of Costner and De Niro, because I would have loved to have seen what conversations these two could have had. But overall, I thought De Niro's performance as Capone, it's legendary, one of his best. From a production standpoint, this movie is beautiful. The production design is immaculate. They really captured the 1930s aesthetic. Brian De Palma's direction is flawless. De Palma will always go down as one of those, as one of the old time great visual artists. He ain't my top 10 favorite director of all time, but he's a director who's, if I see a name on a movie that he's making, I know I'm going to get a quality movie. Um, I know I'm going to get a quality movie because De Palma, he's a legend. He knows what he's doing. Uh, but yeah, those are pretty much my overall thoughts. I don't really have a whole lot of negatives with this movie. Like I said, I think this movie is overall really, really good. Like I said, there are certain aspects where I think this movie is overall really rushed. This movie clocks in at just under 2 hours, and if it had another extra 10 minutes to just make certain things, to make certain scenes breathe a little bit, and to establish some more character interactions, I think this movie would have been a perfect 10. However, this movie will always be remembered for two just fantastic scenes. You have the epicness that is the train station scene where Stone and Ness are trying to get this bookkeeper who is pretty much the key in their plot to catch Capone. That entire sequence is fantastic. And then you have the entire courtroom scene, and you have the chase with Frank Needy. Before I close up the review, Billy Drago as Frank Needy, I love him in this movie. I thought Billy Drago was just the right amount of just slimy assholeness as the character of Frank Needy. And when he just besmirches the name of Malone to Elliot's face, his death and ending is poetic and perfect. Not only that, like I said, I thought Billy Drago as whole as Needy, he's that right amount that just slimy ruthlessness. Billy Drago is an unsung hero to me in this movie. He was great. Just as a side note. Uh, but yeah, those are just my overall thoughts on The Untouchable. When all in said and done, this movie to me is going to get a solid 9 out of 10. I can't give it an 8 because I like this movie so much. It gets too much right as opposed to too much wrong. And even though this movie is purely fan fiction, it's good fan fiction. So yeah, 8 out of 10 for The Untouchables. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Like this video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.